while studying all these different dietary theories, I decided that I would go vegan for 28 days, and I lost 25 pounds.
Whoa. Hey guys, this is Nina Perez, and this is Memoirs of a Fat Girl, going from P.H.A.T to pretty healthy and terrific in real time. And as you guys know, that a lot of you have been like pinging me, DMing me, and all that great stuff of these amazing people that I have on this show that are impacting you in your mind, in your health, in your spirit. So I have somebody here who I'm starting to fall in love with, and her name is Angelique, and she is the owner and founder of Eat With Angelique. And it's a small business she launched with a singular mission in mind. It is to guide people towards a healthy lifestyle, starting but not ending with food they eat. Isn't that awesome? So she is a speaker, a health coach, a published author, and of course, a chef. And so she is here to talk to us today about all of these amazing things that she is doing. And I'm going to let her get into who she is. And then we're going to go ahead and hit you guys with a whole bunch of information. So hold on to your seats, people. Here it comes. All right, Angelique, I am so glad you're here. So if you don't mind, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to start off, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, like you said, I'm a certified speaker. I'm a health coach, an author, and a vegan chef. None of my clients are vegan, which is the beauty of what I do. And I like to say that I lovingly guide people toward a lifestyle they could actually live with. And so I've been doing it for 7 years. I kind of stumbled upon veganism while I was studying at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition to become a health coach in 2012. At the time, it just so happened that I also needed to lose some weight because I found myself 50 pounds heavier than I had ever been. And for the first time, I was kind of like, first of all, for the first time, I didn't know how I was going to lose the weight because I had been in fitness and been an athlete in my entire career and, and in school. And so I hadn't realized, that I had gained all this weight. And so while studying all these different dietary theories, I decided that I would go vegan for 28 days, and I lost 25 pounds.
Whoa.
So it really just changed everything for me. And then just from there, I got inspired, and I started cooking more. And even though I did cook already, this took my cooking to a whole nother level. And then, I was also had been transitioning out of the fitness career. I had done both fitness and food, but not in a cooking sense. I did it more in a management style on the restaurant side. And so I decided that I really just wanted to, provide a service for people, that would feed them well without the struggle, because we, like most people struggle with food, especially if you're like a busy entrepreneur or busy business person. Sometimes it's not easy to pack your meals, make them, pack them, and all that kind of stuff. Or even if you're eating out, how much takeout could you possibly eat and be well? So yeah, so it just kind of led me to, how could I do what I love? How could I combine my passion for fitness and for food? And now being a health coach, like how could I make that all work? And so I just started Eat With Angelique. It wasn't called that in the beginning, but it became that. And I started off doing prepared weekly meals for people. I come to you. So I come to your house. You could be there or not be there. It doesn't matter. And I prepare all the meals for you for the week. And I clean up, I leave, and we do it all again the next week. So every week, you have fresh food in your fridge.
Yeah. That's so fun, isn't it? I did that too for a couple of years. Loved it. Now, okay, I want to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So you said that you didn't even realize that you gained the weight, right? So I think that happens to a lot of people. That happens to a lot of people. Like, I think some of us really do know that we're not doing the right things. We're not, and then for some people, you wake up one day and you go, well, wait a minute, how did this happen? And how did I get here? Right.
Yeah.
So do you think, or what was going on, do you think, that kind of snuck up on you like that, that you didn't realize until you kind of look, because you said you were already into, you're already kind of an athlete, right? And you were already into like, cooking, right, and nutrition and stuff. So how did that sneak up on you? Was there other things going on?
Yeah, I mean, not if I had to think about it, I have thought about it, and there have been several times throughout my life where I was doing really good. And then, in my late 20s, and when I look back on it now, and I have this conversation all the time, is that, I didn't come out until I was in my like mid to late 20s. And so I had been, so type A, perfectionist, in control of so much. But then when I really started to connect with who I was, and then have to actually like, like live that and accept it or admit it to myself, I think it just slowly I started to unravel a little bit emotionally. And I'm sure there were other things like the commute I had to work, or just
Right.
other life things. But I had been so really diligent about exercise, 6 days a week, every morning at the same time. Like I had a great routine, and then when your life changes a little bit,
Yeah.
schedule wise, then you have to kind of reschedule your workouts. But then also, your lifestyle, right? All these other things outside of food that we don't think about that affect our well-being,
Right. Right.
So that happened, and so I did get back on track, right? I got back on track. I got a hold of it, because I had gained maybe at that time only maybe 10 or 15 pounds, but then it became 25 pounds, and then it
Right.
became
Right.
50 pounds. And so, I kind of had like a little bit of a yo-yo, at different decades, I guess, of my life. And at that point, when I was 50 pounds overweight, yeah, there was a lot going on,
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
And the reason I asked that question is because I want people to be encouraged, right? I mean, I think that people need to realize that, okay, you like, for instance, for me, I have about 75 or so pounds I want to lose. I really, if I think about it, if I want to go, I'm 230. So if I want to go all the way down to like, I want to go all the way down to like 150. That's why I keep saying that number. But even like 130, I think would be healthy because I'm not that tall. I'm only like 5'2.5". So
Okay.
I say all that to say that I was discouraged for a very long time. And especially when you're somebody who yo-yos, right? You just feel like I can't get my crap together. Like this shit is not working. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so that's why I'm glad you started with that and said that, because you're right. There's a lot of things that happen in life that doesn't have to do with food either. Sometimes it is compulsion and things that you shouldn't be eating, of course. But sometimes it's life. It's life, right? When life comes and kicks you in the gut, sometimes you don't realize it. And then one day when you're like out of that fog or the heaviness that's going on at that part of your life, then you go, whoa, wait a second. But I want to encourage you guys that are listening to please be encouraged to know that you can get it together. You are not at the end. And if you're listening to me and Angelique right now, that means you are alive. And so if you are alive, you
Yep.
can do this, right? If you got a pulse, you can do this. Because I know I've speak to, I do a boot camp 3 times a week. It's called the Fat Girl Boot Camp. And it's for like girls who, or anybody comes. I get boys, I get girls, it doesn't matter. But they all come. And when they come, they realize that they're not in shape. Good. That's what this is here for. You know what I'm saying? So you don't feel like you're like, behind anybody else, or because as a person who is overweight, one thing that I always struggled with was going to the gym. I used to go right to either a class or in the back or to the treadmill and leave. And it was, kind of embarrassing for me anyway, right? It was like, oh, I can't even do it. I'm huffing and puffing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to even work out, right? Because workout was never like in my life like it was for yours, where I didn't work out. I was never in sports, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I love that you started with that, because I think that that's impactful for people who are struggling and think that they're a lost cause, or they're, that they just can't do this. That is not true. That is not true. So
Definitely.
when you went to school and you decided to do the veganism for the 28 days, before you did that, did you have um like any kind of issues with eating meats or anything like that, or was this just like a conscious effort that you wanted to do in your life?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it was a conscious decision to do the vegan thing. What is very interesting is that like most of my life, my earlier years, I ate chicken, fish, and turkey, like turkey
Hmm.
burgers.
Oh, so
I,
pretty lean.
I wasn't really a meat eater to begin with.
Hmm.
And then when I went and I started working in the restaurant industry, then it became like you have to try this, you have to try that. And so then I started developing a flavor, like
Yeah.
steak might have been the only thing that I was like the most familiar with, but then
Mhm.
it was like veal chop and all these like more decadent things.
Right.
And and then like in that was like in my like early to mid 30s. So then it became more a part of my lifestyle, to consume more meats than I had in the past. And so
Right.
um, I blame it on that.
Yeah, let's blame it on that. It's fine. So when you went vegan, I mean, first of all, you blew me away with that number. Like, I cannot believe you went vegan for 28 days and lost 25 pounds. That
Yeah.
is amazing. That is amazing. And it says a lot, doesn't it? It says a lot. It says a lot about maybe eating too much meats. And it also says a lot about maybe who you are as a person, like your body type and what you can and can't handle.
Yeah.
I did veganism in January, for the month of January.
Okay.
I tried to be very strict about it. I tried to be very good about it. So I didn't do any animal product. I actually liked it. I liked a lot of the things I was eating and creating, as I'm a chef as well. So it was
Mhm.
fun. But I was also in a lot of pain all the time. Right. So I mean, you talked about this in behind the scenes a little while ago. And I went to my naturopath, and it turns out that I am quite intolerant to a lot of things. And I know it's because I already have a lot of inflammation in my body, and I have Sjogren's disease. And so things aggravate it. But I say all that to say, I only lost like 4 pounds on it. Right. I realized that when I shifted over to a low carb diet, I don't try to eat a lot of meats either. I do a lot of chicken, fish, things like that, a lot of vegetables, because I love veggies. I love all that stuff. So I do better. I do better with my inflammation. I do better with weight loss. I just do better. My naturopath tells me it's because of my blood type and who I am, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I say all that to say that you mentioned in the beginning that you do work with a lot of clients that are not vegan, right? So, you have a really great unique perspective also, Angelique, because you were a chef and you were also a meat eater at one time. So you can kind of do that. And that's fantastic, right? So do you try to encourage or convert them into veganism, or do you kind of really do work with that person and what their dietary needs are?
Yeah, so primarily my service is all vegan. I don't cook any animal proteins and I don't
Okay.
work with any animal products. The fact that none of my clients are vegan or even have a desire to go vegan or vegetarian is just that all my clients come by referral. I'm providing a service to fill a need, like to
Mhm.
fill a
Mhm.
void, the number one void is to feed them, right? It's to actually have food. And
Right.
the second thing is to have good food so they can eat well.
Right.
And I if a client when I leave adds an animal protein to the food that I prepared for them, that's their choice, right?
Right. Mhm.
So with the thing is about the foundation, right? Making your plate more plant-based than it normally would be, because a lot of
That's
people
good.
eat animal proteins and leave out the fruits and vegetables, and
Right.
you know I know what you're saying about carbohydrates, and people look at carbohydrates as a bad thing, but it depends on what kind of carbohydrates you're consuming.
I agree.
And so, a whole food plant-based diet is foods that are natural and not processed, right? And they come from the earth. So if you're down the freezer aisle or in the refrigerated sections or down the other aisles, all those boxed and container products, they're considered processed. And so the thing to remember is to try just to eat as fresh as possible. I always kind of like throw it back to like the old days when, it was like one butcher, one pharmacy, a market.
Awesome. Awesome times.
Things were not so available, right? And our population was not what it is today, and industry was not what it is today. And so, when you think about the simplicity of those days or the complexity of those days, you think, people had to be really creative and they had to eat what was available to them, which sometimes was even just seasonal, which is why, like Ayurvedic eating is popular, or macrobiotic, and so I know there are a lot of different theories out there about, and then we have all these like keto and paleo, and now there's this thing called pagan, and it's just like, it's so confusing, and
so confusing.
I ain't gonna lie. I encourage people to just, experiment and find what works good for them. But also, like, don't be so hard on yourself. And I think no one likes to be told what to do. And so I feel like a lot of diets are restrictive. And so then you're on this like 30-day thing. And it's like you work really hard. Like you were saying, I tried, I did it. And then after it's over, you go back and, it has the same effect, right? You were like eating clean this whole time. And then you go back to eating the way that you were, that's not as clean. And then you kind of end up back where you were. So I encourage people, to just add more fruits and vegetables. I'm not even asking you to take anything out.
Right.
But to get more of what you're not already getting. And then the more of those things that you add to your diet, the less you'll be consuming those other things. That theoretically, that's what it's supposed to happen.
So I want to touch on that a little bit, because I want to know, when you say clean eating, right? What that means to you. What does that mean to you when you say, I really encourage people to do clean eating? I'll tell you why I say that.
Okay.
I am a farm to table chef. I have a beautiful 20 foot long bed garden. It's 20 of them. And I grow all my vegetation on site.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's fantastic.
I want to come and play.
Oh, please do. When we open, I would love to have you. I'll have you for lunch. I'm serious.
Oh, yes.
It's amazing. And I love where I work, and I encourage my chefs to always use seasonal, right? So we always use everything from our gardens or from the local farms. I also use all of our meats from the local farms. So our chicken is from local, if we use pork, it's from local, all of that is local. Organic fed, the whole thing. So when you say clean food, I just want to know what your definition is. Are you talking about the fact that there's no antibiotics and all that stuff in your food, or are you talking about just vegetables and fruit when you say that?
So primarily I'm talking about fruits and vegetables when I say that.
Okay.
But you bring up a good point, right? So even though I don't prepare it, I do have something to say about the animal proteins that you eat, right? There are tons of documentaries out there that people can choose to see or not see, but there's just tons of data and research and information from like real good sources like T. Colin Campbell and PCRM, which is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And, if, there's the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. That's a website that you can go to, and they will tell you the dirty dozen and the clean 15. And that means that if something's on the dirty dozen list, those are the things the fruits and vegetables that you should buy organic.
Organic, yep.
Right? So no pesticides, you know. And then the clean 15 are the things that you can buy like domestic, like you don't have to be purchasing them organic. And I think that's a really great resource. It definitely is very helpful. And, you know, some things are consistently on the list, you know, of the dirty dozen, but it does change sometimes year to year. But I highly recommend looking at that. And then when you're talking about animal proteins, yeah, we're talking like no antibiotics. And, you know, I mean, there's like big fine line about this whole like free range and pasture raised.
Yeah.
You know, so
we know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like this animal is gonna get slaughtered.
Yeah.
Right? It's gonna get killed. And you know, if you it's horrible to even think about like if a human knew they were, you know, like we have death row people, right? People they go to be executed there, or however you want to consider it, right? But like anybody going to their death has a certain amount of like adrenaline and all the
stress
things going through them, right? So when you think about that aspect of it, you know, we don't really think about it, you know, and there's tons of memes out there, you know, like for the animals, and meanwhile, like you're eating them, but you have like a million pets and you would like think to kill your pet, you know. So, but
you've been in my house, Angelique. Don't play me. You've been in my house.
You know, so it's I feel like you know, I know for me during my health coach studies, like I watched this documentary called Meet Your Meat. Right?
I don't think I've seen that one.
I was crying. I mean, I was on the plane watching this on my iPad, and my wife at the time was like, "Are you okay?" Because she was all involved in this conversation with the person sitting next to her. And I was like, I couldn't even talk. I was like, you know, like what they do to the pigs and the male chickens, and you know, like it was just like, holy shit. Yeah. Like this is what happens, you know, and
it's real. It's real.
And all of it, right? You know, and like the latest documentary is Seaspiracy, because we haven't really talked about seafood yet.
Right.
You know, we talk about fast food.
That's
we talk
true.
about, you know, animal like cowspiracy and, you know, like all these things. But to, you know, for me, I think it was the first time that I'd seen something like really solely just on the ocean and the fish and marine life. And so, you know, I know for me, like over the years, it has just kind of brought me like closer and closer to really understanding and actually like really feeling it. You know, I can't watch, like I just can't watch it. It's I see roadkill and I'm just like a mess.
Oh, I totally get that. I did my thesis in college on the meat industry. I cried the whole time. My thesis was pretty impactful because I had to present it. And so people are like, oh my gosh, why are you showing us this? I'm like, I'm just showing you the reality of what this is. I stopped eating meat for 2 years. I couldn't look at it without just like bawling. So awful. It was awful. But you know, then of course that was like what, 10, 12, 13 years ago. So that's changed. But you know, I'm finding myself after doing that month of being a vegan in January, I find myself really leaning more towards fruits and vegetables more than I lean towards meat at all. So I might be going that direction. Maybe my husband will probably divorce me, but I think I'm going that direction. Girl, by the end of January, he looked at me. I said to him, what do you want for dinner? He goes, let me tell you something. You feed me one more damn vegetable. He was done with me. I was like, I think we're going to get a divorce over this one. Okay. Yeah. 20 years have ended over meat.
I mean, you bring up a really good point, right? Because like in our house, I'm the only vegan. Everybody else eats, you know, the standard American diet, but they all love the vegan food. They all eat the vegan food, including my mother, who's about to turn 70. And, you know, how do you feed yourself and still feed the rest of your family. So
Mm-hmm.
I always just say, like I said to you before, with my clients, I cook for them vegan, and they can add whatever they want. And I think the
Mm-hmm.
same thing goes for your families, right?
Yeah.
Cook for you and then add for them. And
Right.
this way there's like no stress.
Right. Well, I have a son who's vegan and he
And
lives with me right now. So
okay.
I said to him, I'm going downstairs right now to talk to a vegan chef. He goes, awesome. I said, do you think she'll try to convince me? He goes, well, I hope so. Somebody has to convince you guys. He was
Yeah.
never a big meat eater, even when he was young. And
Yeah.
then one day he came up to us. He's now 33, but he was 18. And he said, I want to be a vegetarian. And I said, yeah, okay. I thought it was going to last like a year. Well, it's been, 20 years or something
Yeah.
like that, or 15 years.
Mhm.
And then, now he's vegan, completely vegan.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't really have any problems with, oh, mom, did you cook that in chicken broth? I really don't want to eat that, but I'll eat a little, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. It is a balance. And I think people have to make that choice for themselves, right? So if
Right.
that's what you're going to choose to do it and do it well,
Yeah.
and vegan food is like slamming good. There is
It's
so much
delicious.
out there. Is like so much
I'm
amazing
not
stuff out there.
starving.
Exactly. Exactly. Like I can't have cow milk and I can't have gluten, right? So, since I can't have any other things, I really do lean towards a lot of vegetables and fruit, just because it's there, it's available, and it's delicious. And once you start to learn to cook, and being that me and you both are chefs, we can get very creative with this kind of stuff. So it's delicious.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even tell my husband that he's not eating meat. I just give it to
Or
him. Yeah.
just eat it.
So I wanted to touch on the fact that you have a book.
Yeah.
So can we touch on that? I'd love to know what the book is and what it's
Yes.
about and all that great stuff.
Yeah. So in August of 2018, I self-published on Amazon cookbook. It's called Food is Love. There are no rules in food and
Awesome.
love.
I'm going to pick that up. Okay, go
Here
ahead. Keep going. Oh, I love it. Okay, I'm writing it down because I'm going to go order it right as soon as we're done. Okay, Food is Love. Go ahead.
Yeah. If you go to eatwithangelique.com, there's a link there that'll take you to Amazon, or you can order a signed copy.
Okay, beautiful.
For anybody listening. So it's 50 of my client favorite recipes. And I was doing a mastermind, and I was focused on my business and growing my business. And when I had completed or gotten to a certain level, and I still had a couple, some months left in the mastermind, my mentor was like, okay, I think it's time for you to write a cookbook. And I was like, what? And so the book was birthed there. And
That's
we
great.
had dinner every session that we had once a month. And so we were like, now we're talking about this, and now, we're talking about food, of course. And I ordered my little vegan meal. And, I just said to every, in conversation, I was like, if you really think about it, food is an expression of love. If
Sure
you
is.
like, look at all of us, like we're sitting here around the table, and this is how, like, it was like, right? It was mandatory that everybody ate together, no phones, no distractions, and conversation taking place, so then, like, it just became a thing that just became this book. And it's not traditional. I don't break it down by like appetizers, desserts, and entrees and things like that. I broke it down into 4 parts. And the 3 main parts are love of self, love of family, love of each other. And then the last part is all my love, and just kind of how, like, I had to come out to my family that I was a chef now, and not like this fitness person or whatever else I had done. And, just kind of sharing with them, like I came home because I was living in Florida, and I'm in New Jersey, from New Jersey. And so cooking for them, and kind of like, because, of course they were like, what? We're Puerto Rican. It's like, you're not eating what?
I'm Puerto Rican too. Believe me, I get the looks.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wrote this book. It's pretty small,
That's
4
awesome.
parts, 50 recipes. Some of the recipes are just components of that go together in one meal. But yeah, just kind of talking about, my clients, who they are, and my story about how I got to where I am.
Oh, that's great. So you've made it very personal. So it's
Oh,
integrated with your life.
yeah. I'm like,
Oh, I
it's like,
love that.
I call it a story book with recipes.
That's awesome. No, I love that. I love reading books like that. I have like 2 or 3 of them. I have friends who are authors and write cookbooks,
Mhm.
and some of them have done that. They've interweaved their life into the recipes, and then you get to know them, right? You get to know what they were thinking that day. You know what they love, what they don't love, their family, why they united when they made that meal. That's so
Mhm.
special, right? It's so much. It's so much more special than just writing a recipe. Here it is. Boom, you're done. You know. Good for
Yeah.
you. That's amazing. And
Yep.
I know that's birthing love, just even writing a cookbook. Writing a cookbook can be very challenging, you know. So good for you. That's
Thank you.
awesome. So
Yeah.
what do you do as a health coach? What do you do in that area of your career?
Yeah. So I work with a variety of people, and mostly you come to me and it just, we have a conversation. We talk about like what your challenges are, if you want to lose weight, or sometimes people, even in the clients that I've cooked for, have high blood pressure, have had a heart
Hmm.
attack, and a variety of other ailments. I had one client who had zero clue what was going on with her. She had gone to many, many doctors, and they were like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that,
Hmm.
I'm not really sure. And she was just feeling terrible. And so we had a conversation in January, and 6 months later, she called me and she's like, I'm ready. She's like, I need to know what's going on. So um, I sent her, to do a food sensitivity test. We got the results back of that, and it's really great because
Yeah.
there's a like one you could do hair sample, that's like the most popular, but there's also a blood test one,
Hmm.
and it, basically just tells you, what foods are that you should not be eating because they're
Right.
causing a reaction, which usually shows up as inflammation.
Hmm.
And so I had great success with her on that. And we eliminated all of the things that were high level for her. We actually, it goes 3, 2, 1, 3 being the highest. And we actually took out everything, and we created a meal plan for her
That's so
based on,
good.
yeah. And we just kind of, we took everything out and we started adding new things in, and she did so great. Like within 30 days she was
Hmm.
feeling much better. She lost 10 pounds, and she was cooking, which she didn't do because her husband did all the cooking.
Right. I mean, you know what, Angelica, I'm going to second your testimony there because that happened to me as well. And so I know what you're saying is complete truth. Same thing with me. They thought I had Lyme disease. They even gave me medicine for it, which tore my stomach up. Then they couldn't figure it out. I went to five specialists, right? Because I was like, my bones were hurting, my joints. I was falling to the ground with pain. It was awful. And I'm like, wait, come on now. I'm not 102 here, you know?
Right.
So I actually got scared. I thought it was bone cancer. I thought it was all kinds of stuff because I'd never been in so much pain in my life. And it was going on for like a year and nobody could figure it out. So finally I went to see a naturopath. I mean, she looked in my ears. She was like, your ears are red inside. She goes, I bet you have food intolerances. And I'm like, she goes, just appease me. Can I just do some blood work? And I'm like, sure. Sure enough, Angelique, it was like through the roof, the things that I couldn't have. By like 4 to 6 weeks, I was a whole new woman. I was like a whole new woman. It is incredible, right? That food can can be so good for you and so bad for you if you don't do this right, you
Right.
know? So I'm encouraging all of you out there that are listening that, if you're not feeling well and your bones are hurting and your joints are hurting and your muscles are hurting and stuff like that, you are getting a lot of migraines, a lot of headaches, you're not going to the bathroom regularly, things like that. Like you just think, oh, I'll just take a laxative or I'll just take an aspirin, but it's not going to help. And that actually, was very eye-opening for me, right? I mean, I'm in my mid 40s. And so that was like, whoa, wow. I mean, I used to have milk in my coffee every day. Now, if I have milk, it literally kills me. I cannot have it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's some serious stuff.
Yeah, and food sensitivities are subtle, right? We
Yeah.
all know allergies cause like major reactions, hives,
Mhm.
anaphylaxis, whatever. And so, we're not aware, we're not conscious of food sensitivities. So I do think it's important that if you have no idea what's going on, and the doctors don't know what's going on with you, that's an avenue you could pursue, just to see if something on the list is something that you eat regularly, because you can develop allergies, or you can develop sensitivities to things, and you just don't know it. I took the test, and I laughed because so many of the things that came up on it were things that I didn't eat, like that I did give up. But it was nice to see because, eggs were on the list. It was like 95 and 100% reactive to egg whites and egg yolks, and, other things like anchovies and stuff that I don't eat, but like barley was on the list, and beer and barley. So I was like, oh my God, I can't have beer. And I definitely, I could see it like afterwards when I was aware of it, and I would have beer, and I was like, see, I can't have that beer.
You know what the problem is, Angelique, is that most of us are so used to feeling like shit that we don't, I mean, like, honestly, that we don't even, like, we don't even realize that we're feeling like garbage, really. I mean, you kind of just, I'm just bloated, or, I'm just tired, or my joints just hurt because I worked hard. And you're not really realizing that when you start to feel better, then you notice it, right? Then when you have, like, when I eat something somewhere and I ask, is it gluten-free? Yes, it is. Okay, great. And then I have it and I feel like crap. No, it wasn't. That was not gluten-free.
Or cross-contaminated,
or cross-contaminated. Well, here's the thing too, right? That I learned because I went to see those 5 specialists. One of them was an allergist, right? So he scraped the skin and he did whatever, and nothing came out positive. But when I went to see my allergist, I was intolerant to exactly what he tested me for. So I just want to tell you guys that as well. Like, you might go see an allergist and they might take blood for allergies or scrape you for allergies, but honestly, it's an intolerance.
Right.
So there's
very
a difference.
Yeah,
very different. And I didn't know that. I learned it, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. And I'm glad that you do what you do because, I'm very fortunate that I'm a chef. So I was able to, like, maneuver that, change it, switch it up. And even though as a chef, I'm not a vegan chef, right? So I had to learn that, and it was fun. And I have a lot of recipes that I put on here on Memoirs of a Fat Girl, where I have those 28 days that I did of veganism. So I have, vegan recipes on there. But I realized that when you are not a chef or don't know, to cook differently, and somebody says to you, by the way, you can't have these 20 things you've been eating forever. I'm so glad that you're there to help them through that, because people, that really hurts, right? They start to go, oh no, what the frig I'm going to eat like air now? No, you're not. You're not going to eat air. You need a professional like Angelique on your side so that she can guide you on the things that you can eat. And therefore, now you can, like, do you do that? Give them like a whole menu plan and shopping list and the whole thing?
Yes. Yeah. And we do it together. We have calls like this. And, what I do is I take the list and I sort it. I make a whole spreadsheet.
That's awesome.
And then, we talk about, like, all right, what are you eating? I want to know what you're eating right now for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. What kind of beverages are you consuming? And then, if we need to have some, like, vegan substitutes, then we'll introduce those, because now, like, the vegan market is full of substitutions, creamers, milks, cheese, butter, like all the meats, there's even like a vegan prosciutto. We tried it. It was good.
Okay.
So there's, there's so many alternatives now. So you're really not stuck. And I know, like, you might get the email with the list and you're going to be like devastated, but really, I get it. But there's help on the way, and we can figure it out together, and create a plan that doesn't make you feel like it's the end of the world.
Yeah, I think that, the way, and I love that you have that attitude towards it, because it helps them see it's not what you can't have, is what you can have. It's what you can have. And because in the beginning I was like, oh my God, I'm allergic to everything I love, until I started realizing, well, I love other things too. I don't just love those things, and so I just integrated those things into my diet, and I'm so glad you do that. So Angelique, before I let you go, I do want you to tell my audience, how they can find you, because a lot of the people that I deal with, or a lot of the people that are in our audience are people who are trying to go from being overweight or being unhealthy to healthy.
Yeah.
So give us your like handle or your website, how we can find you, all of that, please.
Okay. So it's eatwithangelique.com. All of my social media links are there for LinkedIn,
Great.
Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and it's all Eat with Angelique. Sometimes, because it's a little bit long, I had to take out a letter, but if you go to the website, that's the best place. And at the bottom of the page, you can contact me easily or find me on
Awesome.
social media.
So you're still taking clients, right? You're still
Yes.
open to take clients. Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And I really I admire you. I admire you, what you do. I admire the kind of work that you're doing. I know as a chef, it is super fun to work with people, but you're taking it to a whole nother level. You're coaching them through it. You're helping them with inflammation. You're helping them with how they're feeling. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Like, you come to my restaurant, I'm going to feed you well, but you're taking it beyond that. And I'm really, that's amazing.
And we talk about that too, right? How to eat out.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's important, right? Most people are eating out now. So, you're guiding them in a place like, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, when I got all of the intolerant news, I was very, very happy that I had so many years behind me as a chef, because I just imagined before I became a chef how I would have been devastated. So I'm glad that you're helping them with that, right? So you're helping them mind, body, spirit, and all of that together. So good for you. I'm so glad. And I thank you so much for being here on Memoirs of a Fat Girl, because these, like I said, my community is very much growing, and they are very much into having authenticity and people that are going to help them through their journey. So yay for Angelique. We had her on here. Yes. And guys, I want to thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Don't forget to click below and subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you leave us some feedback. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to follow Angelique. And her website is eatwithangelique.com, right?
Yes.
.com. So go on there and check out all of her resources, and make sure that you connect with her, especially if you are going through something you can't explain, some inflammation, some whatever. She can help guide you through that and hopefully get you to the new you. So this is Nina Perez, and this is Memoirs of a Fat Girl, going from P.H.A.T to physically healthy and terrific in real time. Until next time.